Hi, my name is Trudy MacDonald. I'm the Managing Director of TalentCode HR. In this video, I'm going to share with you some tips around how to take a dysfunctional organisational culture and shift it towards the desired organisational culture. This is a two-part video. So in this first part, I'm going to be sharing with you the initial 2 steps, and then we'll follow on in the second part. Many organisations recognise the need to shift their culture, and often the reason that the culture has got to the current point is that there's been no deliberate focus on creating a desired culture. Rather, it has just evolved. And cultures can change quite quickly, usually depicted by the leader at the top of the organisation and the particular style that they have, but also by some of the external factors that may be influencing the speed or the nature or the type of work that you're needing to undertake as part of your business. So with acknowledgement that you would like to shift the culture of the organisation, here's the first 2 steps that I recommend you take in order to undertake that process. So step number 1 is actually getting a good understanding of what the current culture is. So before we can start to shift it, we need to understand what the current culture looks like and some of the characteristics of that culture. Now, the best way to do that is actually to go out to all of your team members and engage in some meaningful conversation with them around that. A good starting point for that conversation with your employees is to anchor it around your values. So if you have defined values as an organisation, the first question you can ask them is, if the organisation were to really be living these values to its best, what would that actually look like? And what that's doing is it's starting to get your staff thinking in a positive way around how those characteristics could actually be displaying themselves on a day-to-day basis. With that framing, there's then 2 parts to the questioning. The first is to ask your employees to share examples of where those values are currently lacking on a day-to-day basis. So get them to reflect on the behaviours that they're observing in their day-to-day work and share some examples of where those behaviours are lacking. Following that, you can start to get them thinking positively and have them share examples with you around where those behaviours are evident. So you're looking for positive examples of the behaviours. If you can do this for all of your values straight away, you'll get a really good sense of where the values are being demonstrated well and how that balances with some of the negative examples of where those values aren't being displayed. Starting with values is a good point. However, it's not the end of the diagnosis, and for some organisations, they may not have a clearly defined set of values. So from there, the next step is to take some of the key aspects of culture and actually ask questions around those. So one of those areas, for example, may be communication. How do we communicate inwardly within our departments, between departments, but how do we communicate out to different stakeholders? That's a key component that can define a culture of an organisation. With that particular component, the questioning can be along the lines of what could we stop doing, what could we start doing, and what could we continue doing that's already working in order to take this culture to the next level. Repeating that questioning across all 10 facets of culture will give you a really good understanding of the current culture, but it will also start to frame for you what does the desired future culture look like through the eyes of your employees. So that's step number 1, really important step. It's around consultation and it's around getting real tangible examples that define the culture, which is simply how we do things around here through the eyes of your employees. The second step is then to collate all of that information, identify your themes and feed the information back to your employees. I can't reinforce enough the importance of actually closing that feedback loop, whereby you've gathered information from your employees. It's so critical that you then feed back to them that you've heard them and the themes that come out of it. So they're your big 2 tips for starting the journey towards moving from a dysfunctional culture. In the next video, I'll share with you where to go from here. But in the meantime, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We'd be delighted to help. Thank you.